What is up with the squad? It's Cess, your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies. We are here with Coach Can. Y'all know I told y'all I was gonna start bringing the actual information to the fam so we can get some understanding of what's really going on. This is our first guest. So honored to have you, Coach Candice Jackson. 18 years of Division One experience. Stops at Duke, Wake Forest, Buffalo, Richmond, Michigan State, her alma mater, where she also played in what was it, two Elite Eight appearances, 4-year letter winner, uh, NCAA tournament appearances, NCAA national championship game work while on the staff at Richmond, MVP in high school, played in the state title game, like has done everything from head coach to director of recruiting. Coach Candice Jackson, thank you for your time today.
Hello, hello, hello.
Thank you. So we'll get right into it. Share with us a little bit about your journey just into college basketball coaching and like what inspired you to pursue this career.
I didn't go into school thinking that I was going to be a coach. That was just not my plan. I actually wanted to be a teacher. So when I went to Michigan State, I started out as an elementary education major. First semester, took a class. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in a classroom. Immediately changed my major, and then I was on like family community service.
Okay.
I wanted to do something that like could help people and primarily kids. But coaching just fell in my lap because during my time at Michigan State, I had a lot of injuries. So I had 3 knee surgeries in my
Hold on.
first 4 years, right? That were season ending. And so I spent a lot of time just watching the game from the different side, from the bench and seeing it more as a coach's perspective. So my 5th year came around and I was like, my knees hurt, right? Like they're bad. So I decided to stay on as a student assistant, work on my master's, and essentially I was a graduate assistant. So I
Hmm.
worked in the office. I was still in school, but I went to practice every day. I helped with scouting reports. I did some film work. I just really started to see the game from the coach's side, and was actually able to give my opinion on some things because I was coaching my teammates. Um, and so from there, it just kind of happened. Um, we went to the national championship game that year,
Okay.
and I really was like, if I'm going to pursue this, I'm going to strike while the iron is hot. So I left Michigan State, didn't finish my master's, which I had. Left Michigan State though, and the opportunity to work at the University of Richmond came around. I was 22 years old when I got hired, and then I spent 4 years at Richmond, 2 years at Wake Forest as a recruiting coordinator, 3 years at Duke as a recruiting coordinator. Went to the College of Charleston as a head coach for 5 years. Went to Buffalo for a year as an assistant. I took a break from coaching, which happened to be the COVID year, so that was a good year to take a break because
Right on
it was
time.
crazy, right? I was talking to my friends, and it was a
Yeah,
lot.
right on time.
Yeah, and then I went back to Michigan State. They created the position of director of recruiting operations, so I could kind of like get back into it, but not completely into it. And then just being there for those last 2 years, it was great to be at home, but I
Mhm.
really was like, yeah, I need to be back on the court. And so when the
Okay.
opportunity came to come to Virginia VCU, then I took it. I went for it,
Okay.
and
Okay.
here I
And
am.
and how are you liking it?
I love it.
You
It's
love
great.
it? Okay.
Yeah, VCU is in Richmond, so I've already lived in Richmond for 4 years. So there's some familiarity to the city and to the area and everything. But I'm just now
Hmm.
at the rival.
Okay. At the rival, how does
Yeah,
that feel, right?
it's interesting. Yeah, at the time VCU and Richmond weren't in the same conference when I first lived here, but they are now, and so
Okay.
it's a big deal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's all time big rivalry now. So you've been head coach, assistant
Mhm,
coach,
mhm.
director of recruiting, recruiting coordinator, assistant coach now. What did you like about being a head coach, and what didn't you like, and would you do it again?
I would do it again, but I won't do it until I'm ready.
Okay.
Until the right opportunity presents itself, and it has to be a lot of things that make it right, not just what I thought when I was younger that made
Hmm.
it right. There's a lot of factors that'll go into it being like the right fit for me. Would I do it again? Yes. What I didn't like was losing.
Okay.
That, I mean,
Nobody
you're
likes that.
right. As an athlete, you're just naturally competitive.
Hmm.
um, and so a lot of us sometimes we hate losing more than we like winning. I love winning, don't get me wrong, but it's something about losing where you just kind of internalize everything. So I would say that's probably the worst part about it. But I love the job. I loved being able to make decisions. I love having an impact on young people's lives and being able to help them in different ways. Um, it's just that wasn't the right fit, but the right one is out there.
Okay. Um. So, assistant coach, head coach, what are the major differences there?
Oh, decision making.
Okay.
Everything. Things that you don't even think about as an assistant coach, you have to decide on as a head coach. And so that was the big struggle for me in the beginning, where, like my staff was coming and they were asking me questions and they asked me questions about the smallest thing. And it took a lot for me to be like, just do it. I don't know. But in reality, you appreciate it because they really were just trying to do what I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, maybe I just didn't know what I liked. I didn't have a decision on certain things. And so
Okay.
that was probably the biggest thing. Once you get into that groove and you get used to it, then it's fine. And then really just everything falls back on you, no matter what it is, no matter what happens. It's
Uh.
on the head coach. And so you have to be really ready to take all of that on, good and bad. You're gonna get all the credit and you're gonna get all the blame. And and that's it. And you have to be really, really thick skinned and
Mm-hmm.
strong willed to be able to handle that.
Oh yeah. I mean, so I'm a Gamecocks fan, through and through. So Coach
Yep.
Big Drip, that's what I call Coach Staley, Coach Big Drip. Big Drip really was really emotional at the national championship this time.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that. You don't realize how much coaches carry. It just like in that moment, it was like wow, like all of these different people that are depending on you.
Mhm.
So when you win, you carry it. When you fail, you carry it. So definitely understand what you mean there. Of all the roles that you have, is there one that allows you to impact young people more than others?
Yeah, being an assistant, you do. It doesn't matter how cool you are as a head coach, that relationship is different. So, as an assistant coach, I heard a lot more about personal lives, life decisions, academic. You do a lot of troubleshooting as an assistant coach, and you try to help
Okay.
things before it comes to the head coach's plate because ultimately you want to take as much off of the head coach's plate as you can.
Okay.
And so there's some freedom in being an assistant coach and just being able to really get into it. When you move over a couple offices and you're in the head coach's seat, it's like you're just ultimately at first a villain. And I don't know, it just kind of it just kind of goes with the position. Unfortunately, they see you. You could be the exact same person, and your team will still see you in a totally different light. And so
Wow.
that was really hard for me in the beginning. And then you're just kind of like it goes with the territory, and then you're able to open up to them just on a different level.
Okay.
And then they can really see who you are as a person, and so that starts to come back. But initially, they're like, "Nah, stay away." It's like going to the principal's office, right? They don't want to see. Anytime I say, "Can you come see me?" Everybody's always like, "What I do?" Like, you
Like
didn't do anything. Like, why do you think you're in trouble?
coach
But
wants you.
yeah,
Coach
as an
wants you.
assistant coach, they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm on my way. You want some Starbucks?" Like, you know?
You get to be more kind of like I always say like Khadijah Sessions seems like she's just a vibe in South
Yeah,
Carolina. Like she's just doing her thing, having a good time, and then Dawn is like, we're taking it on, we're worried. So
right. She's like
I get
mama,
that part.
right? Like the head coach is like your mama, and the assistant coaches are like your fun aunties, right? And
Yeah, okay,
so,
okay, I get it.
yeah.
So throughout these years, you've had the chance to I guess affect a lot of different lives. What are some of your favorite moments along the way?
Whew. Favorite moments. I mean, I've coached a long time, so I have a few. Obviously, being a part of a Final Four and national championship game, we were runners up that game, so that hurt. But just that whole season, it was unbelievable because Michigan State, we weren't ranked, right? We
Hmm.
weren't picked to win the Big Ten. We weren't picked for anything. We didn't have any All Americans on the team preseason, anything,
Oh
and
wow.
just going through that season and building bit after bit, game after game, and just seeing like the fruits of your labor really come together. And now you really understand like this is why I'm going through all this preseason training. This is why I'm going through hell with the athletic trainer and getting my body right. And this is what it means to really like what each game really means. And so I think we were 33-4 that year. Um,
Hmm. Oh
and
wow.
our fourth loss, right? Our fourth loss being in the championship game. And so there was a lot of time, a long season where you're just winning and spending that time together. That would be one of my ultimate favorites. When I was at Duke,
Mm-hmm.
and winning a ACC. That was my second because we won at Michigan State as well tournament. But the first ACC tournament title that we won when I was at Duke was a lot of fun, just because that team also was really good.
Mm-hmm.
We had some good seniors, but that was Chelsea's sophomore year,
Okay.
and so
You
that was
talking
when
about
we were
when you say Chelsea, everybody else,
Chelsea Gray. I'm sorry,
you talking
Chelsea
about
Gray. Yes,
as
at
we
Duke.
know her, the point guard. Okay, the point guard,
She is just Chelsea,
the
but
point
yes,
guard. Okay.
that first ACC tournament title when I was at Duke, that was a lot of fun because we had really good freshmen, sophomores, and just a solid team. Um, whew, another favorite. Goodness,
Well, I
I'm gonna
guess I
stick,
got a follow up to that one.
I'm gonna stick with those two. Really, those are my ultimate favorites. Yeah.
So you've had players, of course, Chelsea in the WNBA. Do you get the time to still follow the players that you work with along the way and keep in touch with them, and like how real is that? Because sometimes I give like I'm not gonna say names. I give some coaches more praise because it seems in the limelight in front of the cameras they get a chance to do a lot of still keeping in touch with their players, and some coaches it seems like once you graduate you out of there. So how important is that? Is it easy to keep that stuff up? What does that look like for assistant coach or coach?
You know, a lot of it goes into the bond that you build and the relationship that you have when they're on your team, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's good. Do we talk every day? No, no,
Mm-hmm.
that's not. But it's just like an old friend that you just kind of every now and then you periodically check up on and you see what's going on. I've been to former players' weddings, baby showers, just life events. Obviously, being able to go to basketball games when we're in the same area,
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those things where you just kind of really get to see them go from being these teenagers to these right to these women, and some of them I'm like I just didn't even know if you'd make it out. Like,
Right.
and I'm
So
so proud, right? I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy to see your maturation and just to see how your life has turned out because you had it in you this whole time. So it's not really even just about basketball. It's really just about sharing that life experience with them and helping them transition from these young adults into actual adulthood. And so when you get to have a small piece of that later on, it's really nice. It's really gratifying.
that is really cool. Yeah. So like we're looking at them, like I said, like Chelsea, the point guy, and you're like, no, that's Chelsea. I remember Chelsea when she just was, figuring this thing out. So that
Yeah,
is really
annoying
cool to
me
be
in my
able to
office.
to be able to have that experience. Do you still get to just enjoy the game?
I do. I love watching the WNBA.
Okay.
To be honest, I do. And honestly, I watch a lot of college women's basketball. Not even just as a coach who's scouting. You know, when you watch games, you're like, oh, I like that. You know, you might rewind something and write down that offense or see what they did defensively, and you're kind of still
Mm-hmm.
coaching through that game. But the last couple of years, basketball has been so fun to watch. I mean, as you can
Yes.
see in college basketball, there's a lot more parity across the
Mm-hmm.
board. So you're not just watching the same three or four teams dominate every year, right? The games are great. We're getting more coverage. And so, yeah, I do get to see it as a fan, and I will
Okay.
always enjoy women's basketball, not just as a coach, but as a fan.
Okay. I love that. Now do you watch any NBA stuff? Do you only
Not,
watch women's stuff?
um, if I'm gonna be honest, I would say that I watch probably about 80% women's basketball and like 20% NBA and men's
NBA? Okay.
college.
Wow. Okay.
And
And then, I
honestly, I
mean,
really only watch the NBA during the finals, like around this time.
okay. Okay. And it's funny. As though I watch. I Cess talk sports, so I watch some of everything: boxing, NBA,
Yeah.
WNBA, AU, high school, whatever I can get my hands on. But I hear a lot more people saying no to the NBA, no to men's college, and yes to women's basketball, and yes to the WNBA. The league has been around. What are your thoughts on the WNBA right now? So, like I tell people all the time, I love the game at a time when you couldn't grow up and play professionally. So I think that's when I'm most jealous of these ladies is that they had a chance to like play this game to grow up and do it professionally. You've had a chance to watch the league. What do you think about it?
I love it. I love what it is, what it has become, what it has grown to. I was in high school when the WNBA first started. And so, initially, obviously, people say it was boring to watch. For me as a women's basketball fan, lifelong, it wasn't, because these were still women that I would watch in college. Mind you, it was years before social media and actual coverage and
Absolutely.
all of that. But it was, it was good. It was good then. It's great now, right? Because now we've had time for older players to still get their flowers in the beginning, and now they've retired. And
Hmm.
now you're talking about like a Teresa Weatherspoon who's back coaching, or Becky Hammond, things like that. Like, I watched them play. I watched
Right.
professionals be professionals, and now you get to see them coach professionals as well. And now, just like I said, like with women's basketball having so much parity in the college level, that it's transferred over to the professional level here in the States, where you can actually see it. There's eyes on it. There's a fan base. So now you have like people who are following athletes from college all throughout their career, and now they have more
Absolutely.
eyes on the WNBA. I
Yeah.
think it's a beautiful thing. It's I'm going to say the same thing everybody says. It's time for expansion in the WNBA, right? We need more teams. We like, there's too many players who are too good to not be playing.
Absolutely.
Areas are asking for it, and so just the growth of the game. It's so fun to watch. It's so fun to see, and I think that these women, that they deserve it. They really do.
Do you see yourself ever transitioning into into the professional realm, or do you feel yourself more beneficial and helpful for the young people at the college level?
I've never thought about professional sports
Really?
in me. I
Okay.
have not. I enjoy what I do. I like being a part of that growth for young women to go into adulthood.
Yeah, and I make that assumption about some coaches a lot, but the media is always like they're going to be the next one, they're going to be the next one, and then
Yeah.
it's like, do you really have to go? Because it may just be that you kind of like where you're at and you like affecting lives there. So that's pretty cool to hear. So one of the things that we talk about a lot on my show is and we even have a song about it. It goes to the beat of Too Short song, so it's the portal, boom, 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 boom. The
Uh,
portal. How does the portal affect things now? To me, I feel like I hear more about the transfer portal now than any other time in college sports. How does
mhm.
that affect your ability to be able to, like you said, build those teams and that have that baked in um, fan following because because a player's been there 4 years? How does that affect what you're able to build?
It affects it. I'm not going to sit here and say that it has no bearing on anything that we do. It's a big part of what we do. Recruiting has changed. We're not just looking at high school students anymore. We're looking at people who have already had college experience, no matter what it may be, no matter at what level, right? And so now it's a lot more competitive. But I
Mhm.
think that the portal, it's something that can be good and something that can be seen as bad. From the recruiting side, we don't have time to think about it either way. Like, we got to, if we need to get somebody, we need to get somebody, and that's it. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with people who just recruit strictly out of the portal versus people who just recruit strictly out of high school. I think that if you can find a good balance for your team, and if you have a good culture, an established program, then no matter who you're bringing in or how frequent, it'll stay strong. So you're able to build different teams and different rosters every year.
Cool. On top of the portal, there's also this big three letter NIL, right?
Yeah.
How difficult is that to battle? Like I hit to balance. I mean, I hear nightmares about it. Like some coaches are like, as soon as they pick up the phone with a kid, it's like how many minutes and how many M's, and it's like really how much money and how many minutes? Is it really that serious? Is it really that direct? Like you hear people all the time say, I just play for the love of the game. Is
Hmm.
how does that affect your ability to build a team and also like the recruiting?
Fortunately, I have not had to deal so much with like the money right away, right?
Oh, good.
It
Okay.
could be at the level that I'm at right now in a mid major, or it could just be that we really just had the opportunity to coach and recruit kids who really just want to be, not kids, young women, excuse me, who really just want to hoop, right? Like, they want to get somewhere where they can have an impact on the team, and they'll worry about the money later. For other schools and for other conferences, I know that it's a big deal, and it hurts, but it also helps. At some point in time, you're going to have to give the student athletes the money that they can be making for themselves, right? It really, it's something that needed to have happened. Do I think that people who who set forth this NIL thing, did they imagine that this is what it was going to look like and be like? Probably not. I don't think this is the direction that they necessarily saw it go, but here we are. And so, honestly, in this business, you can either be a part of it and embrace it and kind of help contain and control the direction that it's going to still be able to help and impact student athletes, or you have to have a completely different mindset, more business mindset.
Hmm.
You come up with the money, you find the best way to get your best players to build a roster that way, and really hope that it works out because now you're putting forth a real investment and you want to see that investment grow and pay off. So I don't think that NIL has it's bad for us. I am very fortunate to say that it has not bit us in the butt as bad just yet.
Okay. I mean, and I think for me, on the flip side, I don't even worry. I worry about these young men and women being able to manage their money, right? Because now they have a lot more money at their disposal. But then I also am just wondering about like keeping them safe. All of a sudden, everybody knows how much money they have. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, they're moving around. Like just so many things that come with it that it's like, did we plan this thing all the way out? Should we have some? Should we have some other governance over it? Does the NCAA even have time to govern that? Just a lot of things I think that we still need to kind of work out around it. But I definitely see the benefit of being able to allow these students athletes to be able to be paid to play in for what they bring to the schools.
Yeah.
Uh,
I will say the one thing about that though, that what I do miss for them is just being able to be in college and just
mm,
enjoy college. Like right now, because of the money and the amount of money that these student athletes are being offered to go from here to there to, they're having to make like life decisions
right.
at 18, 19, 20. When I was in college, I was broke as hell, but I had a blast, right? I could just literally just be a college student and
Favorite
not have
struggle
to worry
meal.
about anything. I did, like we needed some money, yeah, but you figured out how to get something to go to the movies or do whatever. But it's just
What was your favorite struggle meal?
my cereal, cereal.
Cereal.
You know how many boxes of cereal I stole from the cafeteria? Cereal. I always had milk in my refrigerator in my dorm room because I can eat cereal breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, I can figure it out with a box of cereal and
Yeah,
be
and
good.
like you said, getting a couple dollars to get to a movie, do something like that. But now these
Yeah,
kids are these young women are brands now. They're
yeah,
brands, and I think that it's good and it's bad because I think it gives the WNBA, which I still think is kind of in a grassroots kind of state, an
hmm
opportunity to partner with some kind of big brands to be able to bring a lot of eyes to the product if they partner correctly. So really
right.
eager to see how that works. But kind of going back to the transfer portal, I hear nightmares about people getting stuck in the portal. Can
Yeah,
you actually get stuck in the portal? And what
yeah.
does that mean?
You
Like,
don't get picked up. Like you make this decision that you want to go and test the waters and go somewhere else, but you better have a plan. I'm gonna tell you that much. Like if you feel like you want to go to the portal because the school that you're at is not working for you, it's not a good fit or whatever. If you don't find your fit, then what? Right. So now it is different. I will say you do kind of get stuck in the portal, but you also, the NCAA has now come out with a rule where if we were to take an undergraduate student athlete out of the portal and say it doesn't work out, we are on the hook for that person until they graduate. So if
oh,
she
okay.
doesn't get picked up out of the portal, that comes out of our scholarship, that comes out of our roster number. So that can still hurt us.
But do you
But
let them back on the team?
I most people probably wouldn't. We haven't actually dealt with that, thankfully.
Okay,
But I
okay.
don't
But
see how, right? Because you also have to take in consideration that your teammates, even though they understand you got to do what you got to do, but they may not like you left us, so they may not welcome the team may not welcome you back, and so it's hard for you to put 14 people or 13, however many you keep on your roster. It's hard to put them in a position where it's like, yeah, you have to welcome this person back who might have rejected you or felt like it wasn't where they needed to be. So
I mean, it's
no,
a natural thing. Like you didn't want
yeah,
to be here. Now here you
I
come.
think a lot of the times they can just go on and be a regular student and
But
get
walk away from their chance at being a pro athlete.
well but that's a chance they take and that's a choice they make by going into the portal without necessarily having a plan.
So at least I understand a little bit better if I understand what you're saying. They still get an opportunity to finish their degree or finish
Yes.
school. but they
Yeah.
they don't have an athletic scholarship that puts them back on the team. Like you can't be like, I went in the portal, it didn't work out, now I'm back. Let me get my
That's
locker
totally up to the coach, right? That's
up to
totally
the
up to the
coach.
program.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a possibility, but it's a little unlikely just because of
Depends on the school, depends on the situation. I'll put it to you that way.
okay. How late into the season can you get somebody out of the portal?
We have a window, right?
Okay,
So this past year, the only people who could go in before the portal window opened was graduates. So like the Ivy League doesn't offer a lot of master's programs and everything. So everybody basically who was going to graduate but still had their COVID year and from the Ivy League, they went to the portal as early as the fall, right?
okay.
And so so people knew they were going to finish there and then they were going to look for another school for their last year. But for everybody else, there's a window of time from March until I believe it was like 45 days. So right
Oh
after,
wow.
yeah, so right after Selection Sunday, that Monday to May 1st.
So it's not like as a school you can't in February go, hey, we're getting ready. Looks like we're going into a tournament. Got some injuries. See what's in the portal.
Nope.
Wow. Okay. I did not
So
know that.
yeah,
I thought
the portal
you
has
could.
officially closed. That just means that your name has to be in. That does not mean that you have to be at another school or anything. Your name has to be in by a certain time frame.
Okay. But in the middle of the season, you can't just go grab a center out of the portal from
No,
as a school. Okay.
no, not
Uh,
anymore. No.
Oh wow. But at a time there was a time when you could.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. So oh man. So the portal, is it a conversation that you have with your coach to say, "Hey, I'm thinking about it"? Because I thought I read that you don't even have to talk to your coach; like you can just fill out the paperwork.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing about it. Like, yes, you like to think that you have a good enough relationship with your student athletes that if something like that comes about, and a lot of coaches do, as soon as the season's over, we have those meetings and we'll say, hey, what are you thinking? What's going on? Where's your mind at? And what's that looking like for you for next year? But no, technically, no, they do not have to get permission from their coaches or anything. They just need to work with their compliance office at whatever university they're at, say that they want to go into the portal, and then, they go from there.
Would a school tell a tell a student, "Hey,
Yes, yes, yes. The school, no, the school,
it's
like
not really
obviously
working, so
the
you go ahead and
compliance
get in the
office
portal"?
informs the coach
No, no,
that
no. I'm saying, would the school tell the student, like, would the coach come and say, "Hey, you know what? Thought it was going to work here. You might want to see what's in the portal for you."
that's happened before. Yeah,
Oh,
that
really?
has.
Okay, okay.
Again,
That
that
seems
just
kind of.
depends on that depends on
It
the
depends on
school.
the
That depends on the coach.
programmer.
Depends on
Okay.
the program. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So I also saw this season for the first time, and maybe it's happened before, a couple schools that had to do like walk on tryouts,
Mm,
like in the middle of the season,
yeah.
because of injuries and all that kind of stuff. Um, uh, how hard is that to balance? And so for me, I call myself the peanut gallery, and I feel like we're really lucky in South Carolina to have a good uh strength and conditioning program with Molly Benetti. So it's just like I always just go, oh, their strength and conditioning program is crap. That's probably really not the truth. Um, but jokingly, that's kind of how I look at it. But how much is that strength and conditioning? How much of that is on like the school? How much of that is on the athlete? How much of that is just like a fluke? But like when you look at like, okay, like 90% of your bench is hurt,
Hmm.
you know, is that school? Is that just a fluke? How would you look at that?
I think things happen. Some things are going to happen outside of your control. In women's basketball, we're allowed to have 15 scholarship student athletes, so we can have a roster of 15 and walk-ons, depending on how much money you have to take on extra bodies. But when you get into a situation like that, where there's been a lot of injuries throughout the year, now you're having to find people just to fill roster spots. It's disheartening, but listen, the show must go on, right? And so you've worked with your strength and conditioning staff, obviously, and your athletic training staff to figure out what's going on, what's the best way to move forward where we can prevent more injuries to happen, and still also you have responsibility to help those student athletes who've gotten hurt to get ready to come back for either the rest of the season or the next year. But you got to do what you got to do, man. Like it's not like like you'd hate for somebody to have to end their season
Hmm.
because of the number of injuries, but that has happened, right? But and you can't jeopardize the health of more student athletes just because you want to finish something. You like if it gets down to it, you absolutely do have to make that choice. But you try your best to not have to, you know.
What are the pros and cons of? Because I notice a lot of teams don't carry the full 15.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of carrying a full 15? Like, I don't understand why you keep spots open with the potential of the injuries and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the pros, I'll start with the pros. The pros is just that, right? Like a lot of times, like if you have a full 15, you never, injuries happen, right? They're bound to happen, and you don't know if it's going to be a week, 2 weeks, season ending. You don't know. So just to be able to have somebody else who can come into that position and be ready, give us a couple minutes here, there, you're able to kind of move around with the roster and play around with a little bit. It definitely helps. So that's the benefit of having your full 15.
Okay.
On the con side, as a coach, it is
Mm,
very hard to keep 15 young women happy. You're
mm,
just not going to. There's going to be a time where somebody's like, dang, I should be playing more, or dang, this is, you know what I mean? And so you have to kind of figure out a way to balance personalities, emotions, just understanding of where you are and your role and what your expectations are. And you, number 14 on the team, you don't have the same luxury as maybe you're starting two guard. Like that's just not the reality of it. And so now you're trying to help get them to understand, like, this is where you help us. It might just be in practice where you're helping
hmm
get us better, and your time is coming, right? And so you have to decide, are you willing to stick it out and keep growing, get better in practice, push my team forward while I'm breaking into that lineup, into that eighth, ninth, 10th spot, or, I'm doing the best that I can and still not working out. And maybe I do decide to go into the portal. So
How,
it's always moving. It's always rolling. And so you just, as a coach, you do your best, um, with the number of student athletes you have. I've been with the team that's only had 8. And then I've
wow.
also,
Okay.
this past year, we were fortunate to have 15 healthy players at VCU this year. So, you just kind of go with it.
Okay. Um. Oh wow. 15 healthy players. That's a good way to get through the season.
It was a
Uh,
great way to get through the season.
can you be too transparent with the player? And then how much time is it? Are you talking just to the player? Are you talking to the parents? Because I imagine everybody is like, I was a star where I came from.
Right.
Like I was her, and now I'm here, and I'm trying to figure this thing out. How transparent do you have to be? And is that at the beginning? Is it all the way through the process? How does that work? Is it a continuous conversation?
Yeah, it actually it starts in recruiting. I think the more honest you are, the easier things can be. And so we just put everything out there. Like everybody coming in was her, right? That's how you got
Right.
here, right?
Right.
So that was your past. This is your current. This is present. So we can't have you thinking that because of what you did in high school is going to win us something here. No, that's not how that
Okay.
works. You got to show up to practice every day. You have to be at your absolute best every single day. If you want a spot, you beat somebody out for it. You compete, and you tell them that early. You tell them that in the recruiting process. Don't ever promise a starting spot, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. Don't overpromise anything. You tell
Okay.
the truth. This is where we are. This is where we see you. This is where we think that you can help us. This is what it's going to look like. And if you exceed those expectations, great. You know what I mean? That's your freshman year. I'm talking, but that's
Right.
great.
Right.
And then we'll help you grow from there on. But it's one of those things where you have to be honest, because the more you're telling people this, that, and the other, and then something else happens, that's just digging yourself a hole, digging yourself a grave. And you know what? Student athletes, they appreciate the honesty.
Okay.
They may not initially, because they may not like it. The truth hurts sometimes and they may not like it, but a lot of times you can get them to see. And now your question about parents, I don't mind talk, especially as a head coach, I don't mind talking to parents, but I know, like, I tell people right off top, I don't want to hear about your daughter's problems from you, because she
Hmm.
sees me every day and my
Right.
door is open door policy. There shouldn't be anything that we can't talk about, especially when it comes to playing time, because I'm
Okay.
at practice watching her every day. She has the opportunity to talk to me about it every day, to ask questions, to get extra film work, to get extra workouts in. So it's really hard for me to hear from parents about their daughters being upset about their playing time when she's right there.
Like I
You know,
just seen her. She ain't say nothing. I
yep.
get it. Okay.
So if I don't hear it from her, there's not a problem.
Okay. I get. Oh, that's a good policy. That's a good policy.
Because it
So
also helps them to kind of grow up, right? You have to be able to face things on your own and have uncomfortable conversations. You can't stifle them, because when they leave here, they're going to go off into the workforce and be professionals, and they can't call their parents to talk to their boss about something that they don't like. You have to be able to stand on your own and handle things, handle your business like a woman.
Absolutely. I'm gonna get ready to let you go here. One other question, and I hope I get a chance to have you back. I
Absolutely.
gotta get ready. I gotta get ready for a live. But for the young lady that's in high school that
Mhm,
wants to get to college,
mhm.
what advice do you have for her, or where do they find where do they get the, I guess, the best check and balance of where they're at to
Mhm.
know what they need to work on to be able to like hit your radar?
Yeah, I think it's keep working, keep grinding. Um, we go out recruiting. There's multiple times throughout the year that we go recruiting. I've been recruiting already in April. We have a weekend in April we can go out. We have a weekend in May, a weekend in June with your high school team. Every weekend in July, that we can see you. There's opportunities to be seen. One of the things that I tell them, and high school coaches and AAU coaches, there's always going to be that bumping heads of who can really help the most. We just need to be able to see. So getting to a place where there's going to be exposure for those student athletes. That does not mean that you have to be on the best AAU team or something that's sponsored by Nike or Under Armour's or Adidas. That's not what that means. You need to get on a team that's going to be competitive, that is going to be coached instead of just playing one type of way the whole time, or somewhere where you're going to learn and grow. I know a lot of kids like having a trainer, and that's fine, but you also have to understand you don't play against cones in a game. Right. So your trainer is only going to get you, but so far you got to play. You,
Exactly.
you need
Okay.
to build your IQ. You need to build your skill set against another person and with your teammates. So they need to play high school ball. They need to play AAU ball, and they need to find a way to be exposed, um, and so that we can actually see them.
Last question.
Mm?
Is there a benefit to being a multi-sport athlete versus just a basketball player? And do you suggest one way or the other?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We love a multi-sport athlete. Now, at some point in time, you have to really like sit down and say, "This is really what I want to do." But growing up, I don't think that, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. Um, I don't think that you should have your kid just do one thing from six until. There's something called burnout, and it is real. And you don't want them to feel like they don't want to play or they don't have a love for a sport. When the time comes, right, when they become 13, 14, 15, because they've done it so much and they've been pushed so hard already. It's a good balance, right? And it helps them for a lot of different reasons: motor skills, IQ, team building, different things like that. You get to meet different people, and so it helps because when you get into the collegiate game, you're going to be around a lot of different people, a lot of different personalities, and so I don't think it's bad for somebody to play multiple sports.
I appreciate that. Coach Jackson, I appreciate your time. Appreciate your
You are
time again.
so welcome, Cess. I'm so glad I
Again,
got to do this.
again, humbled. I'm gonna have you back. I will be releasing the interview this week, so I will tweet at you when I do it. Please
Okay.
share it out. But again, totally impressed with your resume. Appreciate your time, Coach.
Thank
You
you.
have a
Thank you.
great
Thank
rest of
you.
the day. Thank you.
You too.
All right, talk soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.